Hi there, my name is Graeme Codrington, and I'd like to talk to you about how we should respond to disruptive change. We know the world is changing. We know that there are mega forces and disruptive trends coming our way. But how do we as the leaders, as the people in business, how should we respond? This is my passion. And what it really takes is helping everybody in our teams to begin to think like a futurist or like a futurologist. The definition of what a futurologist does is it's somebody who intentionally builds the capacity to see and understand the meaning and implications of change. Each one of the words in that definition is important, and we can unpack that in a presentation or a workshop that will help you and your team to develop the capability to respond to disruptive change coming your way. Let me quickly just unpack it for you now to show you where we would go. We intentionally need to build the capacity to see the future. We need to develop our ability to scan the horizon, to not be surprised by megatrends coming our way. This means developing the ability to think in scenarios and what if ways, and to think about the disruptive forces shaping our world. We need to see and understand the implications and meaning of change. The understanding comes from developing frameworks. Frameworks are conceptual guidelines that help us to make sense of the world around us. For example, we use personality profiles to help us understand different people. They're not perfect, but the Enneagram or MBTI help us to create a shared language of why people might be different from me and from you. We can think of business models and industry models. We can think of generational models, boomers, millennials, Gen Y, and so forth. Leaders, especially leaders in the 2020s, are going to be collectors of frameworks and make sure that we have shared vocabulary and understanding with our teams. We need to understand the meaning of change. Meaning comes from asking great questions. You know, leaders often think of themselves as the people who need to give the answers, but good leaders in the 2020s will be the ones with great questions. I would much rather work for a boss who has questions that are difficult to answer than work for somebody who has answers that are difficult to question. What type of leader are you? We need to intentionally build the capacity to see and understand the meaning and implications of change. The fourth key component that needs to be added to a future-focused toolkit for the 2020s is diversity. Our willingness, in fact, our desire to connect with people who think differently and see the world differently to us. And we need to develop a diverse network that we listen to. And then, of course, we need to deal with change. We deal with change in two ways. We need to develop future-focused skills, skills that help us to handle change. Most of us are much more focused on keeping the status quo and protecting ourselves from change. We need to develop the skills that open us up to change. And we need to unlearn some of the old skills and the things that we think we know right now. Just give you a quick analogy here. I was doing a little bit of DIY at home. I'm not great at DIY, and there was a wall that needed repainting. So I went ahead and I repainted it. It all looked fantastic for a few weeks until the old paint began to push through again and peel. I hadn't scraped the wall. I hadn't got rid of the old paint well enough. And this is part of our problem with learning. Part of our problem with change is we don't unlearn enough. So the sixth tool is unlearning. The final tool is our ability to intentionally create capacity to do all of these things. And that comes down to our willingness, our desire, and the organizational structures that we need in order to experiment. If you are not experimenting, in fact, if you have not built a culture of experimentation, you and your business will not be here in 2030. You won't survive the 2020s. And I will show you what a culture of experimentation looks like and what you need to do to implement it. So there are the 7 tools that you need to put in a future-focused toolkit so that you and your organization are not surprised by the future, that you and your team feel confident and competent to approach the 2020s, and that you as an individual know that you have what it takes to be relevant and to deliver results in the 2020s. My name is Graeme Codrington, and I'd love to come and speak about thinking like a futurist and the future-focused toolkit at your organization.